Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you've tuned into the podcast where I talk about everything G.I. Joe. We've covered all of the DIC episodes, all of the Sunbow cartoon episodes. We've covered every issue of the Real American Hero Marvel comic book over the 9 years we've been doing this program. So new listeners, go back into the back catalog. We're not normally a weekly show. Normally we are a watch-along, kind of an evergreen podcast. And read along too. So check out the back catalog and dig into the history of Joe on Joe. Returning listeners, you know the score. I think you're awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us this week for a very cool conversation with Greg Agustin, who is the author of the Command Files book that is coming out now from the After Action Report team over on Kickstarter. We've had Josh Agustin on recently, and actually we were going to do a combo interview with Josh and Greg this week because they are promoting their latest Kickstarter, which ends on June 30th. Go to Kickstarter and search for After Action Report or search for Command Files. You will find this. It is volume 2 of the Command Files. We did a great giveaway a couple months ago, and got a lot of these fantastic reference books into listeners' hands. So today Greg is back to talk about volume 2, which covers the remainder of the Joe team that he did not cover on volume 1. If you remember, it's a book that sets up these super teams. So we thought we'd get them on and talk about it again to get them a final push in the last couple of weeks. So it was supposed to be a combo episode of Greg and Josh, but Greg and I had so much fun chatting, and we really did, that it stretched. So this week is Greg, and next week we're going to talk to Josh, where I met up with him at the Robo Toy Fest out here in California. And they're both going to be at the Joe Fest in Augusta, Georgia. I hope you're all there listening right now and enjoying the show. And then Josh is going to be at the DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth Joe Show, the following week. So tune in next week for the Josh part. And Josh, if you're listening, as they say in the late night talk show, Josh got bumped. We didn't have time. Thanks a lot, Josh. We'll get you next time. But I had a great conversation with Greg today. So I hope you guys really enjoy this. And remember, you can always find me on social media at Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. Send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Say hello. I love hearing from listeners. And you can always check out back issues, back episodes of the show on patreon.com/JoeandJoePod and help support the show that way if you're so inclined. So sit back, enjoy Joe Fest, because that's where it's at this week. It's all about G.I. Joe this week. We're all talking G.I. Joe June. And I really hope everyone's having a great, wonderful, safe, fun time at Joe Fest in Augusta. And here is our conversation with Greg Agustin.
I got all this duct tape together here.
Hey man, duct tape makes things happen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee you every vehicle on the Joe team had a roll of duct tape stashed somewhere. Every single
absolutely.
one.
It's part of their kit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I guarantee you. Like that should be, if they ever do another movie, God bless them. At some point we need to reveal that.
Oh yeah,
that just needs to be a reveal. Really?
No, I was thinking you're going the other way though. The next classified release, they have a little duct tape accessory.
Also, that should completely do that. Like if they're doing someone like Mainframe or someone in a repair capacity, you know. If they ever do Bridge Layer, what's his name? Toll Booth. Like Toll Booth. Booth needs a roll.
That would work.
Yeah, Toll Booth totally needs a roll of duct tape with him.
Yeah, because he's totally combat engineer, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
he absolutely does. Absolutely needs a roll of duct tape. It should be.
Let's get that guy, Lenny, right?
Yeah.
Like the Hasbro guy. Let's get him on the horn.
Yeah. Well, listen,
actually, he follows me on Instagram. Maybe I'll just drop him a note.
Tell him we said that. And I don't know if you're going to San Diego, but if I catch them in San Diego, I will absolutely go duct tape on Toll Booth.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good idea, San Diego. So my kid goes to college in San Diego area, San Marcos.
Uh-huh.
And last year, when I drove him down for his second year, move him in his apartment, I was driving back up and I realized I'm throwing through San Diego, and it's Comic Con season.
Oh,
I didn't have tickets or anything, but
yeah, sure.
I went by. And
Where, Greg? Where are you calling from?
oh, I'm in the Bay Area.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's right next to San Francisco. So I managed to get my GI Joe fill because there was an actual they're giving out that San Diego Comic Con ash can for GI Joe
Yes.
number one.
Yeah.
And that was actually sold outside the show
Oh.
at some like pop-up booth thing. So I
Oh.
was in it for there.
Funny. That's funny. Well, I'll tell you, I was in the room for all of those
Yeah.
that they were giving them away, and those were
Yeah.
tense moments.
Really
Yeah,
tense.
they were tense because everyone wanted one, and
Gimme,
everyone
gimme,
knew
gimme,
that
gimme, gimme, gimme.
they were going to go up in value, and the people giving them out good for good. They were doing their job. They were hawks
Yeah.
about one per person, and
Did they have like a carrying around like a master cart or
well, like they
had
all had their just were carrying stacks, but they were under strict instructions, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and me and my friends, so we went to pretty much all the Joe ones, so we ended up getting all of them. But at like one of the last ones, they had multiple versions, like because there was the Destro one, and then there was the
Yeah.
Cobra one, and then the GI Joe one, or something like that, or the Chicago one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we had already gotten, I think we had already gotten the Destro one. So when they hit, but this session had multiple versions. So when they get to our row, we were like, "Ooh, can we get the other one from the other guy, not from you?" And it was,
Super rad.
yeah. And you know what? Bless the person. We weren't trying to pull a fast one. We just literally didn't want to do it the same. And they were like, "Oh, I don't know about that." I was like, "Oh, come on! Like it's just." We already got these. We're not trying to, it was, we, I wouldn't even say, can't even say weaseled it, but we smooth talked it. And the person was literally like, don't tell anyone. Like they did a super slide because they did not want to deal with people swapping.
Oh heck yeah! Imagine that.
Oh, it would have been a nightmare.
So was this a Hasbro employee or like a show employee with instructions?
Probably Hasbro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably Hasbro. Yeah, like they were like Hasbro kitted out. I think they were doing great. Hasbro. I thought Hasbro handled it really well. I last year was the first San Diego con I've been to in a good number of years, and I don't remember if I even hit Hasbro last time I was down there. So I only have that experience to go by, but it was pretty well organized. I'll tell you what they did do last year, which was weird. They sent the Pulse members an email saying you can get in priority access to get your Cobra Commander guy. And then when I showed up, and I again, wasn't trying to do anything hinky, just literally saying, you send me an email. I was looked at like I was like trying to buck the system. They were like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, here's an email from you guys. And he's like, oh, you got to talk to somebody else. And I want to talk to somebody else.
Okay.
And the other guy just goes, nah, ignore that email. And I'm like, well what is it?
Was it one of those ones? Was it like Hasbro, like sponsored, like email thing, or
It
was
was
the show?
No, it
like,
was
like you had
it
to go
was
to
Hasbro.
another place.
It was Hasbro.
Okay.
It was what I believe it was an idea that they had. And listeners, if you guys had this happen to you too, please reach out on social media. Let me know, because I imagine what it was an actual plan that marketing had. Hey, let's get our Pulse members in early, and they had kind of set the ball rolling. And I have a feeling once they got boots on the ground, they were like, we have no way to manage this. So they just pretended to ignore it or something.
Huh.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge inconvenience at all. It was just really confusing, and it made me feel like I was some kind of chump. And I don't like waiting for.
But shame on Hasbro for not having like a proper like response like set up.
It was just confusion, yeah, and they got a lot going on. But because I don't like waiting in line for meeting celebrity. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like I'll wait in my line to get my thing and mind my own business kind of a thing.
Yeah,
But you send me a front of the line pass, I'm going to use that front of the line pass, brother.
Okay.
Like that's what's going to happen, Greg.
Dude, yeah. And I appreciate you tuning in on your podcast, your episode. I caught the last one recently, and you're already dropping the name of the book, and I appreciate that.
I like elevating other, I just like elevating the fan Joe community as much as I can, I think the stuff you're doing is really cool.
I mean, it's actually amazing, just this whole journey of when I was first on your podcast, I was still new. I didn't know anybody in faces how to go. When I was preparing to talk to you, I literally had like prepare like I was doing a corporate presentation. I had my like talking points
Oh yeah,
ready to
yeah.
go, had the cover. I was like totally approaching it as if it was work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trying to go. But then at the end of the day, when you and I started talking about it, and you were so off the cuff, and we just had a good conversation, I was like,
Yeah.
I could do this. This is
Yeah.
cool.
It's
It's
cool.
chill.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
great.
That's
Yeah.
why not, right? That's what we're doing, right? Well, your latest effort is a feat, and made more so by the fact that you never served, because
Yeah.
you're reading this. And listeners, we're talking, of course, about the command files. Volume 1 is out in the wild. Volume 2 is, as we're recording this, is finishing its Kickstarter. It's got a couple weeks left. You need to go to Kickstarter, search for command files, after action report command files. You will find it. And it is a such an organized piece of just rank and filing that I absolutely assumed you had some level of service at some point. You're like the Tom Clancy of G.I. Joe authors. Tom Clancy was never in the military, but he went out and he did all the research and
That's
gives us Hunt
exactly
for Red
what it
October.
is.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, when in terms of like understanding GI Joe, understanding the comic universe, the cartoon universe, and toys was my first love because I started playing with them. Is it was really the story behind them and the cool military titles that they had and the ranks and stuff. And I was always curious how that fit together. How did that map to the real world? I knew like running through that they were talking about specific kind of events in military history, like referencing the Vietnam War, and then very specific about weapons and things like that. And so I had to do a deep dive. What the heck does grade mean? What's a warrant officer? What's a sergeant? So I dove into that world and trying to understand it. And again, the only military um, kind of exposure I had to that world was like watching episodes of the A-Team recently, right? As a as, as an idea of like what it is, right? And even then with the A-Team, like
Hey,
Harling Man Murdoch was like a
they're
captain
a crack
and
commando
Colonel
unit.
Hannibal. Yeah, yeah.
And if you're lucky enough to reach them, maybe, just maybe you can hire them.
You could hire the
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So that actually fascinated me in terms of how a unit works, how it's structured.
Yeah.
And then
Were you into like, how old were you when you started that bug of like, I want to learn this? Were you an
um,
adult, or was this way back when you were way into
it was
GHS?
way back when. I Josh, I was obsessed with the file card information, the
Yeah.
history, the backdrop, and how that all worked together. Josh Eggman just posted an update on our Facebook page, a picture that I sent him recently of actual file cards that I recreated,
He
of
sent
characters of action figures I didn't have before that I didn't have.
he
So I
sent
actually
those
made
to
cards
me,
myself.
and
Yeah.
he told me to ambush you with a question on it, and then he
Oh,
ambushed me by ambushing you. So yes, he sent me your handmade file cards
yeah.
for the Joes. let me see, listeners, so we can let me call that up real quick so we can all be on the same page. How old were you when you did these?
Um, I had to have been
42.
early teens, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at your hand drawn file cards for Ace, Airborne, Bazook, and Beachhead.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, to be honest, I was copying like the trip, like file, the drawings, right? But for me, it was about the format and getting it structured and organized,
yeah.
all the information.
Well, first of
Um,
all,
yeah.
you have a tremendous pencil. You have a tremendous mimic hand for the artwork. Your art, I'm not even
That's right.
joking. Your artwork looks solid. Like it's
Like
a
that's how I learned.
yeah, that's fantastic. Um, yeah, you've got it all down. You've got your own file cards, and
Oh,
is that the full? Is it like a full page, or is it like quarter size page, or what am I looking at?
they
How big
are
were they?
probably if you lay out four of them, they fit in a 8.5 by 11 paper.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say paper because um to describe what I did, these are homemade. These are like on binder paper, pasted on cereal box cardboard.
Yes. Hey
Uh,
man, that's how we did it back in the day.
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I had a bat cave when I was a little kid for my amigos. and it was cardboard because
Yes.
we couldn't afford like the real one they were selling in like 1980. So
Oh
my
yeah.
mom made me a bat cave with a bat cave, and it had a Wayne Manor
Yeah.
on top. It was two boxes on top of each other with a slide in the middle. I was like, that's all I needed. That was it. That was the action.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, I gotta tie these file cards that I made back to you.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke, we talked about what do we do with our traditional GI Joe cards. Where do we store them? And you gave me the recommendation of go find in container store box,
Right.
and I got them.
Yes.
And they worked out perfectly. And also my homemade cards fit in those too.
Yeah.
So that's where
That's
they are.
right. Oh, that's awesome. I
So
love
you'll
it.
solve that for me.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna contact Container Store, get an affiliate program going.
There you go.
That's that's awesome. Yeah, I'm still using mine. It's actually sitting right over here. So you were working on the regular after action report stuff with Roger and Josh, right? Like you were a contributor to those, or no?
I was not.
You were not.
The,
So
the,
at
the
what point?
origin story for this
Yeah,
was
what point does this come up?
well, I created these file card or file pages with my desire to create my own encyclopedia or ultimate guide because there really wasn't one that I was
Yeah.
aware of, and this was 2013, so that's over 10 years ago. And I just
Whoa.
started throwing stuff together and throwing it on Instagram, and then I did that for 10 years straight and accumulated like 200 plus characters, Joes and Cobras.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided in 2020, in 2022, I created all this content. I want to make a book
Oh.
for myself. I personally thought to myself, New Year's resolution. Let's find out how to make these books. I have all the Joes put together. And so what I did was for me to help visualize and vision, I found this digital online app or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I uploaded the PDF there, and it created this virtual book of my book. Like you can
Oh,
actually
awesome.
use your mouse cursor and turn the pages. And I said, let's throw it out there. So I went to a Facebook page group. I posted it and said, hey, I love X-Men and Justice League character guides. I hated that Transformers got one and Joe never really had one.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this? And then all of a sudden, people that out of the woodwork, that strangers came in and said, oh, I want some of that.
Yeah.
Can we get that? Can we get more? I'm going to drop some names here that really I didn't realize then how much I touched. I like impressed upon people.
Uh-huh.
David T. Allen responded, hey, can I get a little more? So he does new news and reviews for Joe's on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Mark Seaton responded.
Okay.
He's talking Joe.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
He got in there. And then somebody named Carson Metaxas.
Oh, Carson. Yeah.
That I want more.
Huge. That's that's a big one in the yeah.
But one in particular was Josh Agustin. It said, hey, let's talk. Let's make this a real thing. I had no idea. I knew about After Action Report. I didn't know it was him. I didn't know that he had a master plan of like libraries of After Action Report guides and reference books. So that July 2022 was
that's right in the middle, and it's right in the middle of lockdown. You're looking for something to do.
Oh, that too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
totally. You're one of like 5 people that accomplished something during lockdown.
Yeah,
I'm not included in that.
Oh, come on. You built. I don't even know how long was your podcast. You started building that.
Oh yeah, I've been doing this 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
But that's right. Put it in context of the lockdown. I think he was in the middle of finishing After Action Report Volume 2.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
Yeah. So it just worked.
So that first book is it now. I have it in my hands, and it covers it covers like volume. It's the A teams, right? And your volume 2 is it just like called the B teams, or what's the?
No, that's good. Well, there is a literal B team in Special Forces, but no, this is not it. These are basically subtitled volume 2 subtitled support elements.
Okay.
So the A team's going to go in there and
do the dirty work,
run the missions, do the dirty work, execute. But they're gonna need a lot of help set up ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
So this is the story, if you will, or the organization of the Joe team outside of the the heavy hitters,
That's
right? That the ones. So
that's
we're
awesome. So
talking about.
my
Yeah, go
question, well,
ahead.
real quick before
Yeah,
we get
yeah,
into who's in it,
good.
you it took you that many years to kind of coalesce and compile and put together the A teams.
Yeah.
Was all that together to make part two, or then did you start part two like you know what I mean? Have you crammed part
No,
two in
it
a
was.
year? But you had 10. Is it like your first band out? You know, my band's
No.
first album. It's 15 years of struggle, and then we're like, all right, great, it released. Where's volume two?
No, it was a little bit of everything, a little bit of luck and a little bit of just need necessity to do. I basically constructed the 8 or 9 A teams units for the first book and said I was pretty satisfied with how it's set up and how a lot of it like kind of worked,
Yeah,
figured out. And then it came to, okay, that's about 100 or so Joes. What do I do with the other 100 so profiles I do? What kind of
right,
narrative, what kind
right.
of thing do I construct about it? But as I researched special operations, and how their mission charters and what they do, how they do it, I slowly began to see what I had left over matched with the other support things that happen around special operations teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an example, before an A team would go into a mission, there would have be some intelligence figured out, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I have a squad in there that whose sole mission is um, gathering intel. So that'll be your Chuckles and your
I was just gonna
Jinxes.
say Chuckle's got
Yeah,
to be on that
yeah,
too, right?
yeah, yeah. Right, 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 right. And then there's a little bit of kind of playing around. Yeah, he says he's criminal investigations, division agent, whatever. But we know actuality when he's like active, like in the comics, he's really
Yeah,
undercover dude, gathering
yeah.
info.
Possibly the greatest character transformation in
Yes,
almost any literature that I've read, from zero to hero with one
yes.
series. People all of a sudden are like, "That's my guy."
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Huge fan following and just a big impact character in the
Mm-hmm.
mythos,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
With no warning.
yeah.
None of us were prepared to like Chuckles as much as we do now.
Yep, yep. Um, so of other groups I looked into, which actually solved another problem I had. What do I do with all the flamethrower guys?
Because you
Because
just
number
won the
one,
flame team.
yeah, right, exactly.
It's hey, hold on. Did you see Ballerina? If you haven't seen
No,
Ballerina
I
yet,
did not. No,
there's
I'm
an
not.
amazing flamethrower sequence, and it's
Oh no.
extended. It's not like a brief thing. It's a fight with flamethrowers.
Oh
It's
man.
awesome. And then you look at that, you go, okay, I can see how flamethrower dudes can get it on in a fight. Yeah.
Oh, full confession, I haven't getting into any of the Keanu movies.
Okay. Okay.
Those, yeah,
Okay.
but
Well,
I'm meaning to because
if you're looking for flamethrower inspiration,
uh,
Ballerina has an amazing flamethrower sequence extended.
okay,
Yeah.
I gotta go. But when you think about flamethrower, those are that was like a weapon that was like illegal in the Geneva Convention,
Oh,
like way
totally.
back in like
It's
when,
well,
right?
if you watched Last of Us season 2, you play any video game with flamethrowers, you know what a waste of a weapon that is.
Mhm.
In concept, you're like awesome, and then as soon as you start using it in any video game, it's never strong enough to stop anybody. And
Right.
and on that Last of Us show, they start a fight. There's dudes with flamethrowers, and they're getting ready, and 4 dudes with flamethrowers, 3 of them run away in fear. They don't even fire their flamethrower. And then the last guy, the hero Diego Luna, he's using it, and it barely works. Like it works, it throws fire, but like the guy's like, you're not stopping me because I'm a monster. Yeah, flamethrowers are always iffy. They're absolutely more fantastic in concept.
Right, right, right. And then you just got, big tank of fuel on you. That's easy
Also
target.
that. See Saving Private Ryan, the dudes that just
Yes.
exploded in the
Yeah.
middle of the battlefield. Like that's not
Yeah.
a good, it's not a good use.
Yeah, so I had a problem to solve with like blowtorch, charbroil, and ice cream soldier.
Yeah, sure.
Word it with them. Then I realized that researching this, that special forces teams have what they call chemical reconnaissance detachments.
Mm,
These are the dudes that go ahead of time in very hostile, hazardous material areas before the A team goes in there and clears stuff out or takes assessments. of what the situation is. There's radioactive material, chemical material. They go in there and make it safe, or at least get some intel of how to handle it before the A teams go in there. So when I started constructing that type of team, of course, I had airtight, but
Yeah.
if you haven't read the first book, I have airtight
Oh yeah.
in the first book. But we also have your eco warriors, eco force guys. You still
Right.
have your clean sweeps
Well, you
and your
definitely,
ozones.
yeah, you
Yeah,
definitely run into the Wolverine issue here of there because there were so many reissues. You know,
yeah,
like Flint shows up on 15
yeah,
different teams at the
yeah.
same time.
Flint is on there, right?
Yeah, the one thing I like that you do in there is what you have it filed. It's really nicely done. It's under their service record, and what you're basically saying,
Yeah,
it's their year of issue of that figure.
sure,
So,
right.
you know, someone here like Gung Ho, like his service record, you have him as a recondo in '83, a biomilitary expert in '93, reconnaissance in 2005, jungle warfare battle wagon driver in '92, you know, tank annihilator, you know, '93, heavy weapons '93, because they were,
Yeah,
you know, reissuing Gung Ho. So
yeah.
it's a great way to kind of say it in a real world way. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh, that dude was busy.
That's good.
He was
Yeah,
earning
actually,
overtime.
that's funny that you mentioned that in terms of like tabulating the different things. I was using that to keep track of the specialties as they change, also the
Yeah.
rank, and also keep track of what teams they were on. So you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
Flint, he's on Tiger Force this year, Night Force that, whatever. I wanted to tabulate that just to keep track, just to say that there are versions, the
Oh,
different versions out there. Just
yeah.
knowledge that, yeah,
Oh,
and
totally. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
such a smart, way to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, and subtly, you know, it's a way like if this were in his actual jacket, that's what it would look like.
yeah,
And you do things like you you know there were two airborns, two, you know, even though
yeah,
they gave them different names, so you have both airborns, and just someone used the same name later on, and you have them listed differently. Because some of the later figures aren't really burned in my head like the early
right,
guys. So when I got to that airborne, I'm like, that's not my airborne. I thought I read airborne.
right.
So I flipped back and I found him. I'm like, oh yeah, oh I see what he's doing. That's great. Yeah.
That's actually a topic for later on in the podcast. So when I come across double code names and what I did with them, because there
Okay.
were some rules I stuck with, some
Well,
rules I
what were your
didn't.
rules? What were the rules?
Well, actually, let me
Oh, yeah,
finish off
finish the blowtorch
the
story.
blowtorch thing.
Yeah.
So, the chemical reconnaissance detachment, yeah, had the eco warriors guy. I put Flint in there as when he's available, he leads him. Then I decide. Then I realized these blowtorch, all the flamethrower guys are handle or know about flammable chemical material, so
Yeah.
or fuel or so forth. They're knowledgeable in that, so they would go in that chemical reconnaissance division. So I put the flame guys
Mm-hmm.
in there, and then just going down the list of support elements, if you will. Yeah, you're gonna have the armor guys, so you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have your cover girl and cross country
Mm-hmm.
and heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have all your artillery guys, the salvos, I
Oh yeah.
guess.
Speaking of
Those
that,
type of guys.
I did
They'll
come
be in there.
across in your book Big Brawler,
Yeah, big
which
brawler.
wasn't a character I was familiar with, and I was like, how does he look? He looks just like Outback, and then I say, oh yeah, he was just Outback remade. And I love the
It
fact
was
that,
only that.
yeah, I love the fact that even though they were using Outback's body, they still felt they needed to still put words on his chest. You know, like
Yeah,
you
right.
couldn't reuse his body and not still put the word
If-
brawler
Put
across
something
his
on there.
chest.
Yeah, probably.
Like survival. Like that's the paint application is not needed. You can just reuse, but they were like, no, if we're using Outback, he's got to have words across his chest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. That's another tangent you can go off in kind of this Joe thing is like the reuse of bodies, reusing names. I mean, there's a little bit of they didn't have the budget or
Oh,
what have
sure.
you
Yeah.
do it, and there's also the licensing
Well,
kind
that,
of like hang ups, all those things, right?
yeah. Well, what's cool is like, so that's a neat rabbit hole to go down to, but that is also a rabbit hole that you don't have to. You can avoid that. And your book avoids that in a way by just treating them holistically
Yeah.
as their, you know, their one character, and here's all their appearances. But fun publications. What were those pictures from? You were crediting fun
Oh,
publications.
those are the
What is
Fun Publications is the name of the GI Joe Club, Collectors Club,
Oh, the
that
Collectors
published
Club, right?
that put those
Yep.
issues out for
I
the
have some of
cons.
those. Yeah, I have some
Yeah,
of those.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't recognize the
Yeah.
name. I was like,
FP.
yeah. Yeah, and the artwork's sourced from all the locations. It's funny, there were a couple that I don't.
And some are
There were a couple that had 0 images, like very few, but like, who was it? It was towards the end here. Oh, is it Major Storm?
Oh yeah, they're quite a bit.
Yeah, and is that just they were never
because
drawn outside of their file
yeah, there
card?
were correct. Yeah, there
Yeah.
a lot of them. You're especially with the second book. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of characters um that are just half pagers because they weren't used in cartoons or they weren't used in comics. Yeah, like your Steel Brigade Rook. Like,
Oh, right.
have you seen that?
Well, it's still great though that you're giving them the space. You know,
Yeah,
that you're again treating them like they're real people.
Well,
So here's a full
the
dossier.
the way I went about it was ignoring all continuity, ignoring if they're dead or not in some continuity, just treating as if they all existed simultaneously, or they
Right.
basically we're gonna sanction. DoD is gonna sanction this unit. We're gonna put 200 bodies in there, and then
I'll tell you,
these are they are, right?
if Cobra Commander ever gets his hand on this book, look out. Do you have plans? Do you have plans to do the Cobra side?
Yeah. There's I'm quote unquote on the hook for volume 3.
Well, you should.
I mean, because that since 2013, yeah, I had simultaneously done Cobra profiles the same time I did Joe's, but I didn't do Cobra as much. And then and Cobra's going to take a while. I think we're going to probably estimate year 2027 to do it, because I kind of set the bar high in terms of, because I set the structure for Joe, and we'll talk about this org chart that I did for them later, but I did such a way to organize it all that people are asking me, did you do something for Cobra? And I kind of figured that out.
You just tell them, just wait your time. So all good things in time. So yeah, speaking of the org chart, isn't the poster or an expanded version or something like that? That's one.
Oh, you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, it's one of the stretch goals, right? For your Kickstarter too.
Yeah. So one of the other things as I was ideating this kind of what does a G.I. Joe structure look like, I actually graphically represented it. So basically this org chart. Well, actually, I was interested in like what was the chain of command? What did it look like? So I decided to plot that out with Joe Colton in the top, then Hulk under, then Hawk has his peers there, the Admiral, the Keel Halls, and so forth, and then it funneled down from there, and that really got me driving down to what does a special forces company look like, and then what does a special operations joint task force looks like. And then I really dove into like, how does that really work? So when special operations works with conventional forces like the tanks and armor and infantry guys, there's actually other commanders that oversee that to make sure that you're not, they're not the same battle space who has, command authority over this or that, and whose mission trumps whoever. So I really went down this whole, actually looking up actual DoD PDFs.
Oh.
Which I was pretty sure I had, authorized access to, but there were some links I did click that said,
"Hey,
no."
Listen, that's so funny. The Reagan administration, they knocked on Tom Clancy's door, and do you know that? I don't know if you're a Clancy head or read out of that stuff. They literally after he did, I believe Red Storm Rising, maybe it was after Hunt for Red October even. But it was one of the first 2 sub books. They came knocking on his door and they said, "How do you know all of this stuff?"
Yeah, I heard about that.
And he was like, "Public sourcing." Like,
yeah,
he knew some. I mean, he knew a lot of people, but it was still all public stuff. It wasn't like secretive stuff. And they were like, "Cause you put everything together, so come work for us." So then he ended up being on a think tank with them for years and years and years until he died. Of like, how would this go down? He was like one of those creative think tank things.
You're gonna have me look over my shoulder now, Joe.
Well, no, I'm saying if we find, listen, just don't do it with this administration. But if we finally get a legitimate administration in there, and they're like, "Hey, we need some help organizing some things. Things got messed up through, through the previous dude. Come on in, Greg. I'll go for it, man. Clean this stuff up."
That being said, though, as I put out there, these are all my interpretations, and I'm welcoming the Joe community folks that actually serves to come correct me.
Yeah, well, have you gotten a lot of feedback from guys?
Not on the military side, honestly. Nobody's actually said anything.
I
There
would say, I
was
mean, I
some
take,
military
yeah,
consultant that came in and reviewed the book and says, you know, you may not have to show this, or you may have to modify it, but not the content itself.
yeah.
There's just maybe some things that are represented graphically or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I would actually take that as a huge compliment because I know that's I would think that that's something that
yeah.
they're pretty sensitive about, you know,
I,
like as far as
right.
getting it right, you know.
Right, right. Well, and
So
hopefully, it's under the view of it's still fiction,
a cartoon fighting
and,
force.
and giving right, giving some latitude for comic and cartoon fiction, right?
Hold on a second, Mr. Augustin.
Yeah,
Lieutenant Falcon, being being Duke's brother, would never be able to serve at this branch under his
right.
command due to the Private Ryan statute of World War II. They would never be in the same unit.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just researching his tank. Something came up in some of the message boards about why was Duke pushed his leader? I mean, along those lines, because we have Hawk,
Yeah.
and I came across this note in Larry's dossiers to Hasbro, and it indicated there was some push for Duke to be an officer, and then it Larry had a response in there saying, well, if Duke was an officer and he served in the Vietnam War, he'd be like a major or something like
Yeah.
that, but he'd be older or something to that effect. And he says it didn't make sense for this old major to be reporting to a young colonel.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel Hawk. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
did,
sure.
he rationalized that. And in there, he writes, okay, this is my dossier for First Sergeant Duke Hauser. But he also said, I'll bite the bullet if you insist it to be an officer. Here's my write-up if you want Duke to be an officer.
Awesome.
So yeah, so those type of like
Yeah.
military
Well,
kind of
I
sanity
imagine
checks, right?
I imagine that stems from them putting him in like a khaki shirt, you know,
Yeah,
versus like battle togs. You know,
yeah, right.
he's always just so prim and everything's tucked in that you're like, oh, okay, maybe he's a desk jockey, you know. But then you
Yeah.
read his file card, and isn't he the one who like leads from the front line, and that's why
Oh,
the soldiers
man of
respect him?
action.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I guess it goes to the point of want to ground it in realism, but I also don't want to be inaccurate or sh show disrespect, I guess.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I want to be as respectful as anything
yeah. Well,
in terms of representing these.
you
Yeah,
definitely accomplished that.
yeah.
And you've got the first volume's got a great cover. I believe it's Mark Pennington.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome cover. The fact that you
Yeah, so
got the fridge on it. Did
that was my
was
that
that
was
your
my
request?
that was my ass. Roger Taft, who
Uh-huh.
has the relationship with Mark Pennington, says, "Give me a list of characters." So I give him a list. I think 30 or
Yeah.
so. I lost count. And so yeah, I was really pleased at how he attacked these, and he got to highlight some of the characters he worked on there,
Hmm.
like his Outback. I'm looking at it right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, it's great.
The one thing though that
I love
was
Torpedo in full
yeah,
mask and
exactly.
rebreather in the middle of the listeners. They're like in a mountain range, like the
Yeah,
Alps. And
up
there's
in the Alps.
Torpedo, like, I need my rebreather on. I'm assuming his flippers are on too.
Oh, absolutely. Like that. There was an old issue or early GI Joe
Yeah,
issue where
they're
they were assaulting
they're
the
storming a missile base, and he's running around in flippers.
or they were projecting the U.S. Treasury or something like
Yes,
that. He shows up with a
that's what it
catwalk in
was.
flippers.
Yes, so silly.
That was so funny.
Is that Budo I see in the back,
That would be
or
Bushido.
Bushido? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Budo is going to be on the other
Oh,
cover.
awesome.
But before we
Yeah.
move on to the other, talking about the other cover, this first cover, the only thing that I was pretty down on is that we missed the guy we just talked about like 5 minutes ago.
Duke.
Missed the first sergeant.
Oh, that's okay.
No,
Sometimes
I
you
was
gotta
like,
save your bangers, man.
no, I was like, there's a story leading up to this, but yeah, I was like, oh man, Diana Davis is not gonna make
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's true. Well, how did you? So how did that happen? Like, is it just you
I
guys
don't
just
know.
forgot and
He
just
just
didn't think
yeah,
about
I
it?
just maybe just missed it. But actually, if you look in the back of the book,
Mm-hmm.
behind the UPC code,
Yeah.
I hid Duke like 92 or
Yeah,
whatever,
I was gonna say
91
that
in
is.
the back.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
I put him in the UPC box.
No, I think
I have
that's.
him in there.
I think is he on the cover for volume 2?
He is.
Okay.
So
Is
the
he?
story behind it,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have it. Oh,
Oh no,
you
I
know
don't. I
what?
don't have volume 2. I haven't
You
seen
haven't
volume
seen,
2 yet.
oh, you haven't seen it yet.
Unless is it on the Kickstarter? I backed it. I'm a backer. I
I
don't know.
will the reveal I can't remember if he's put it up yet, but the reveal is tomorrow. But anyway, since this recording is going to be on after it's revealed, I might as well
Yeah,
just get to
sure.
it. So uh, basically, I wanted Duke on the second cover, but I didn't know how to have it. It would be weird to have him in his classic piece. So I said,
Oh,
what
I
team
see
was
it.
he
I
on?
see it in black and
Like,
white. I'm looking at
you
it
found
right
it?
now. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I have it in my background. um, the the because we're talking about support elements, I was thinking, what team is Duke on that we could show him in the gear for that team, and I picked Star Brigade. Star Brigade. So you're gonna have Star Brigade Duke
Oh yeah. Oh, there
on
he
the
is.
cover there.
Yep,
Yeah,
there he
yeah,
is.
yeah. And
Robo,
Mark Pennington's
Robo. Like he's
sure.
Star Brigade really looks more like Centurions than anything else.
Oh, sure, right,
They
right.
really do.
The evil Centurion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Whatever that dude's name was. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I don't know. We hadn't been Doctor Evil
Yeah.
name, right?
It's so fun. I love that show. We were at the Joe Fest and I was looking at I'm thinking about dudes in robot suits like that,
Yeah,
like it works when you're drawing the whole suit, but as soon as you try to draw it with the head off, like there's always a dimensional problem, right?
yeah,
Like it
right.
never works. And I ran across a Tony Stark in his original Iron Man suit, and the head was exposed, like in the packaging. And oh my God, there's no way a human person could fit in that suit. Like the neck
Unless
is
he was
so, yeah,
Stretch Armstrong,
the
right?
neck is so distended, like another, just to make it fit, because I'm assuming the helmet went over it and everything.
Yeah.
It looked so freaky, like he was an absolute, like he had been destroyed and rebuilt from the ground up as half robot, half person. It was unsettling, absolutely unsettling. And that's what I'm assuming happened to all the Space Marines, of
Yeah,
which
it's
I'm a
weird
sucker for. Yeah.
that S- Centurions. Did I see some toy company decided to pick that up recently, or maybe it was just some fan
I
thing?
feel like I have seen something about that, but I don't know off the top of my head. It's a great property.
Ace
Like it's
McCloud.
yeah, Ace McCloud. The show's awesome. Like it's so good, and all the pieces and the various, like as a toy, like it was a little past my prime, so I never really got them. And maybe because they were bigger, they might have looked a little more like
Yeah,
dolls.
but it
Dolls,
had an awesome battle cry.
Well, dude, power extreme, and then just all the modularity of it. I've always thought
Yeah,
was amazing because they have all the holes, so you can build what it's like a Lego set
yeah,
for an action
yeah.
figure.
Right.
What a great idea! And I don't know why it never real it never latched on bigger, because I think it's just such a cool idea.
After this
The second
pod,
season, when they, or the second set, when they started bringing like the different air water, like the different color dudes, and I was like,
yeah,
oh my God, there's more than just green and blue.
right. You're gonna have me look that up on Tubi sometime
Oh
later to
yeah.
go watch it.
Oh,
It's got to be over streaming somewhere.
totally. Oh, I've got them all myself.
Yeah. So this cover two, I
Mm-hmm.
think Josh probably said that these things are gonna connect.
Oh, cool.
It'll be a whole big panoramic, um, and we purposely did
Oh
that. That
yeah. So
give
that's
Mark
like
a heads up.
yeah. So I can see that. That's the mountain range, and then the back end of is that the armadillo or
Yeah, he's connecting the.
or is it the
To,
Mobat, or whatever tanks in the
yeah,
back,
yeah.
Mobat.
One of the tanks.
Yeah, I can see that you've got the back end of the Mobat. That's great.
Yeah.
And then make the other one connect, and it's just like Cobra's chilling with them in the mountains. The other,
we'll try.
the other side,
We'll try to figure out. We purposely last minute decision looking at Pennington's pencils. He actually had Storm Shadow like closer to the center. And we thought, maybe
Yeah,
thinking about the Cobra, when we thought, let's put Storm Shadow back against the right side, and maybe we'll put
yeah.
the
And
Cobra
maybe
Assassin version on the other one.
there you go. Maybe get
Yeah,
Mercer in there,
yeah. Oh yeah.
or
Oh, actually, Mercer is actually on this cover.
is he?
I think.
Or
I remember.
it's the same. It's just one Storm Shadow, and he covers both, and his outfit is split in two.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what I mean?
there
Like
it is. Right.
the camouflage one is on the GI Joe side, and then the white one with the Cobra sigil is on the other side.
Yep. Yep. That was the idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Mercer on this cover is behind Budo.
Oh, nice.
And Budo, yeah, is getting all the rage right now. It was this classified reveal last week.
Oh, yeah. That classified stuff. They're getting. It's been a little bit since they took a pause
Yeah.
Their business. Not complaining about that, but those figures are looking better and better every time we see them.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
really are. As we record this, there's another live stream tomorrow morning
That's right.
on June 11th. Who knows what they're going to reveal? But I know it's going to cost me hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
There's got to be like retro, like a retro ripcord maybe, since they have that, or retro
Well, they
Crazy
still,
Legs.
don't they? Oh man, I love
Yeah.
Crazy Legs so much.
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough love. He's such a good looking character.
Yeah.
You know, he's another parachute guy. We had a few at that point, but he looks really cool. Like the
Yeah.
red, not checkered, but squared up, whatever cushiony look.
Yeah, cushion, yeah.
Cushiony. It's a cool look, man.
Pillow vest.
Pillow, yes.
Oh, whatever it is.
Pillow vest. Well, don't they still need to finish like the OGs, right? We still haven't gotten full on OGs, which
Right.
I understand from a marketing perspective. They'd want to draw those out because I know that there are collectors that are hanging out just to get all, paying attention to it, just to get all those.
Yeah.
So if they draw it out, they're going to pay attention a little bit longer.
It's called slow playing poker.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But man, that I did just get the rock and roll in the mail. He looks so good. The OG.
Oh, the retro or the
retro,
first? Oh,
retro.
Oh yeah. I got the first version of the retro. Yeah.
What does your G.I. Joe toy collection look like?
I don't have a lot. When I really went at it was the 50th anniversary collection from the 2008 to 2016. I got a bunch of those. They're in storage, and I moved recently. I haven't unpacked them yet. But I really, when I started this whole command files thing, doing the rounds with you guys, I didn't have one classified. This was 2023 when I started doing the rounds with fans. And then just talking to fans about classified, and actually going to a show and seeing them, I just gave in. I said, no, I got it.
Greg, when I started this podcast, I had all the comic books. I have added probably maybe 20 comic books to my collection outside of the regular ongoing series stuff.
Oh, I thought you were talking about toys.
No, I was talking about toys. But when I started this
sorry.
podcast, like I had every comic book I needed for G.I. Joe. I literally had everything. I didn't need to find any old stuff. And my toy collection was just the old stuff I had. Like it was a small box. And because you talk about it every week and you get into it and you're online and you're meeting people and everyone's getting excited and everyone's getting hyped for stuff, and you're like, well, that is a really good looking character. My vintage collection has exploded, and my classified collection is.
I've noticed that when you talked about it on What's on Joe Mind or anything. Yeah, you talked about it.
I can't stop buying vintage. There's a thing in me. I know I'm going to try to put together a complete set. And my classified collection is complete. I have them all. So
no way.
Oh yeah.
This is my latest and favorite Doc.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
looks so good.
Guy, yeah.
So it's when you do this stuff, you're putting the book together. Yeah. I'm on the podcast. You just get enmeshed in it, and it becomes the thing you want to do. Even though I would never classify myself as a toy collector. I don't collect toys, but I collect G.I. Joe.
Oh, yeah.
I got a ton of them.
Oh, this ties back in the rules that I had for the book. As you saw, and I fully explained it in the in volume 1, is that the rules or the scope of it was 3 3/4 figures. Anything that was 3 3/4 figures that had a file card, it's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I bent the rules a lot actually for volume 2. First of all, since we're talking about classified, I had to put a wolf spider in there.
Yeah,
I had to. We had it. He's a new dude. Doesn't have a lot of images about him, but
doesn't he also have wasn't his story like he was supposed to be made or something like that? Well, is that the guy that I'm thinking of? Like they were gonna make him and then they changed their mind back in the day.
You mean the meta story? Oh, I don't know.
Like in the real world, I thought there was some that was.
I think it's a new one.
Maybe it's Rampage. I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was the Rampage guy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because someone explained that to me, like why.
Wreckage.
Yeah. That's
Sabretooth the Wreckage. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Someone explained to me why everyone was so stoked for him. But Wolf Spider was brand new.
I think so. He's a coast. I wanted to get him in there too because he's a Coast Guardsman.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to research a little bit of what Coast Guard special operations was about.
Yeah.
And for him, you learn about the I forget what you call it. It starts with an A, something survival technician or aviation survival
Okay.
technician, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says that he's trained in pararescue too, so he trained with the Air Force Special Operations. So I thought it was a pretty good character. I
That's
needed to
great.
include him
Well,
because it sung the notes of special ops. So it's
yeah.
you know,
I don't it seems like you're cut from the same cloth of me, where I love learning about like these new universes, we'll call it, that I don't know, that's new to me,
yeah.
like, so there's a lot of rich history, and with GI Joe, we grew up with it, so like I was really well versed in it through like 89, 88, 89, something like that. But then I stopped paying attention. So all the stuff in the 90s, all the stuff in the reissues, all the collectors club figures, all that stuff is still new to me. Like the big brawler dude, I didn't know who that was. I read it in your book. I was like, that guy's cool. I like him. I looked him up. And that's really fun for me. Like, I'm glad, for me, that's been part of the journey, is to go through this, and books like yours, see the Wolf Spider, like I figured that was a figure they put out in like 2002 or something like
Right,
that.
right.
And that's really rewarding for me, because at this point, like, I've read every Marvel comic I need to read, like there's very little of the Marvel universe that I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I never knew that. So this is, it's just this unraveling of this bigger universe that is there to be discovered. Did you have any of those experiences as you were putting these books together, of dudes that were off your radar that you were like, oh wow, this guy's really cool, or that girl's really neat, or or I didn't even know this wing of characters existed?
Actually, it was the revelations, if you will, or basically the vintage stuff in the past book. What I really appreciated was like Clutch was what went to bodyguard school, which in the real world is called executive protection or something like that. And there's actually a school that
Oh
does
yeah.
that. That was pretty cool. And the other thing was Crankcase. Crankcase went to Ranger School, so you'd be a badass too. He's not just a driver.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get out and bust some skulls. Um, you caught me with a really good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I didn't mean, as I was saying that, I'm like, oh, I'm asking him to pull deep here. So let's make that a little easier. Is there a favorite character of yours as you were doing this, as you were putting it together and compiling all the stuff? Like you said, you learned that about Clutch. Is there anything that that you really were like, oh man, that's someone I didn't appreciate before, and I appreciate him more now?
No, I think isn't one individual character, but it was an appreciation of the team aspect of it. One of the big revelations of English was in two places was for the first book was building the Arctic team,
Mm-hmm.
actually assembling that. There are actually on an A team, there are 12 slots, and I actually had 12 Arctic Joes that actually fit in there, and I have to really make stuff up,
Oh, that's great.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other big revelation was with Sky Patrol. There were 5 characters. Don't test me over there. But when you looked at their military specialties, they actually align with those um, military specialties that you need in an A team.
Mm.
That there was a medical guy, there was a demolitions guy, there was an intelligence guy, there was a communications guy already. And for me, I want to figure out back there in Hasbro, was that on purpose, or did they just stumble upon there?
Well, it
Because
sounds, I mean,
that's really one half of an A team
yeah,
already.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
at that point, that's a little bit later. Larry was still doing the file cards and stuff. Do you think that's something maybe they like, here's a team, give us
Actually, that's a good
dossiers for this
question.
whole team? It might have been something like that, where he had them all
Actually,
sitting there and was like, what would this team need?
yeah. Actually, that's a good question. I wouldn't even know who would be who created the characters and write them up in, was it not 89?
Yeah, because I
That's
know
right.
as it got a little later,
Yeah.
he stopped being the full master of everything. I don't exactly know
Actually, I
off
don't
the
even
top
know
of my head.
Pennington. Did Pennington? I'm gonna ask him probably. Did he design those characters and concepts? But anyway, that was one of those
Well,
things
let's
of.
welcome him into the chat right now, everybody. Mark Pennington, come on board. No, I'm just kidding. This is your life.
uh, Hopefully catch him at Joe Fest.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's the next
yeah,
question. This will be
yeah.
airing the week of Joe Fest. So are
Oh,
you
cool.
going to be there?
I will be going there. Yes, yeah. My
Oh
first
yeah,
Joe
you will.
Fest. Great.
Oh, I'm jealous.
and we spoke of that org chart that I said compiler. So
Mm-hmm.
Josh said that that would look good as a poster. So another
Yeah.
one of my projects that I kind of like skunk works on the side, one of the hobby things that said let's blow it up. So he just sent me a picture today that they printed up, and it's a it this poster that he's printed out is a Joe Fest DFW Joe Show exclusive
Awesome.
of that, and it's literally my it's really the book. It's pretty much like the not table of contents, but it's the the
It's the
Da Vinci Code of the book.
yeah. You included a smaller version of it with the first Kickstarter, right?
No, that
Was
one
that
actually
different?
was it's different. That one it was just the A teams, and that was just a fun way of what does the war room screen look like
Yeah.
in the pit. Mine was that an actual the poster that's coming out is it was actually um is the actual organization chart of how things laid out. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a geeky thing, but I was surprised. I'm
Ooh.
glad you mentioned that because people were asking for that map poster. They're
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Can we get can we get it bigger?" Some people told me that they're like nerds for
Tell you what.
organization
I'll
charts.
tell
I'm
you
like,
what. Yeah, they absolutely are. Here's another move, right? I don't know how big it is, and it would have to be certainly very, very big. But like
this.
you publish a couple, like you break it up into like say 6 posters, and if you put them all together in order, you can actually put your figure like on the spot where they're supposed to be, like so it's a wall, so you're displaying, you put them in a display case, right? And then you peg them up, you figure, just little pinhole or something like that to keep them against the, you know what I mean, so that they're supported like by the crotch or something like that. Figure it out. But you then have all the characters, your OG action figures in the places where they'd be on the team, so you'd see them all grouped together, and then
That's
you
pretty.
and then you know what you
Wow.
were missing.
There you go. So you're having this. Your wall is basically the world map.
Yeah,
On top of that are the roster of who's going where,
yeah,
and in front of that is this glass shelving case or whatever have you, and then you display your figures in there in the
yes,
airs. Yeah.
yes,
There you go. Ooh,
yes. All right.
there we go.
Joe and Joe listeners, you guys have one, lots of space in your home, more than I do, and two, time and craftsmanship skills on your hands. I want this to happen. I want someone to do this.
There are dudes out there that's what they do. It's
There
amazing.
absolutely
This
are.
fandom here is just awesome. Just creativity and their
Mm-hmm.
wherewithal to do that stuff. It's just it's amazing. Yeah.
It totally is. So hopefully someone takes that idea and runs with it.
Go for it.
I will not demand.
Of royalty
any
kickback.
royalties. Yeah, I won't demand royalties like I will from Container Store. Container Store can afford to pay me the royalties for that suggestion. I will
There
not
you go.
demand it for this. I just want to see this happen so much. So someone make a wall mounted display case for all the Joes. Don't hide your action figures under a bushel. Let them shine.
Mine, yeah, like me right now. My. I don't know how you store your figs. My 3 3/4 are in a tool bin cases or tool like where you put your screws and nails.
Oh yeah.
I have a little morgue thing,
Oh,
little
funny.
plastic drawers
I've
over
got
right now.
I've got all my Lucy's are in those plastic clamshells
Yeah,
with their weapons, and then the majority of them are in a bin, stacked, but then I've got a wall display. I've got on my wall, I've got some bunch of OG carded stuff in clamshells to protect and all this stuff. But then I also bought some of those custom made ones. Have you seen those? The single figure. I've talked about it on the show a little bit before, where they're like single figure showcase
I think
fake.
I've seen that
Yeah,
concept.
it's like a fake. At first glance, your brain goes, "Oh, it's a file card," but it's like the card that came on. But then you realize, "Oh no, it's much smaller and it only fits one figure, and there's no
Yeah,
branding
yeah,
on it."
yeah.
But there is, and it's awesome, and I think they look great. And so I've got a few of those up. Like they did one for the fridge. Speaking of the fridge, fridge never had a card,
Yeah.
so they put one of these cards together. So he's on the wall on that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
awesome. Somebody can do that. Yeah.
yeah. And then my favorite part of it, it's probably the smallest part, is they sell a really nice action figure case. It holds like 36 figures on Amazon, and it's just black wood, and it's real easy. Slide the glass in and out, and you just put each figure in their little cabin, and they just sits on the wall. I think it looks really cool. People are always like, "Oh, that's awesome." Like they're
Sweet.
just sitting there chilling. It's not if you're not into like doing the full display of all your childhood stuff, like if you just had this in the middle of your normal living room, people would absolutely be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
You just put a crazy idea in my head. I wish there was some type of like conveyor belt thing that I could just stack my Joes up, and then like daily I could just like rotate it and show
Um,
another set of Joes.
yes, yes, I want that. I'm sure there are. Did you ever go to growing up, did you ever go to like I'm sure you maybe went to like hobby shops, but specifically every time I went to a uh dollhouse store. I have two older sisters and they had a dollhouse, right? And it was fascinating to me because I loved models and stuff. So everything was miniature, with all the miniatures.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to a store like that?
Yeah, there was one called Talbot's Toy Store that was in the area one time. Yeah.
Every single dollhouse store I was ever at, and we went to a bunch over the years, they always had a rotating display for those like the mini pieces, like mini apple pies and mini knife and fork sets. And it was on a rotating display that you would just press the button and it would just bring them up and bring them up. And it was like,
Oh, you did it. Wow.
yeah, it was like a Ferris
You,
wheel.
you-
Like think of it like a Ferris wheel that they would show so that they wouldn't have all these tiny little pieces going all over the place in their store. They were just in an enclosed glass case thing. And you would just press it and you'd get to see all the little miniature stuff that they had, books and miniature television sets and miniature
That's
pieces of food.
nifty.
Yeah. Take that idea, do that with your Joes.
Yeah. So he's probably gonna build that too.
Off.
Put that
Go
out.
for
Put
it.
it
Hey,
out there.
no, I'm saying those machines exist. You need to find,
Yeah, might
'cause
find it.
the thriving community of dollhouse stores in 2025. Back in 1982, different story. Today, few and far between. You can find one of those machines, get yourself set up. You could do like,
I no doubt there's probably somebody like you who had that experience and has like the engineering background and the manufacturing
oh yeah.
background, or even like a retail fixture distributor that has access to that stuff
Oh
or
yeah.
knows how to get to it.
Also, what I also want, do you collect comics a lot?
Comics are my jam, man.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, same page there. I want a machine that this would be for stores that put out individual bags and boards, instead of having their employees sit there going bag board, like to sell there, you could do it with a little machine, a little like picture like a wide, long, like couple shoe boxes long. And you stack it with the boards, you stack it with the bags, and you have little rubber feelers that constantly spin, shoots a puff of air into the plastic bag to get it to pop open, and then the foot grabs the cardboard and shoves it into the bag, and then the inertia, then another foot pulls the whole outfit back the other end. So you got picture like the length of 3 shoe boxes. And you on the right you have your boards, in the middle is your loose bags, and at the far left what would be is the stack of bags and board combos.
Yeah, I'm imagining when you're describing that. I'm imagining like you ever gone to the casino and they have those little shufflers?
Yeah,
You have 2 sticks.
it's exactly that.
Putting them together.
Yeah, it's exactly that. My grandpa was an engineer, and he used to run a cellophane bag company. And you're like, oh, that sounds very exciting. But he made a killing because everything used cellophane. This is again in the he did it throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s. And I would be there, and he would just show me stuff. He'd be like, well, someone wanted this to do, so we had to figure it out, and we did a puff of air here and a little notch there, and all of a sudden, that's how you had again in the 70s, that's how you had an unwrap thing attached to a cellophane bag.
He was he was part of like the design and development invention of those things, or he was just showing you that's
Listen,
what he did.
He claimed to me to be the first guy to do a rip-off top for decks of cards, because he made bags for decks of cards, and he said before him,
the little like red strip thing.
Yeah, either the red strip or just a little notch or whatever, just to kind of make it easier.
It's funny you say that because the other day my son was looking for a deck of cards, and I just so happened to have a deck lying around that was sealed. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, this weird universe is like coming
He
together.
must.
What's
He
going on,
must have
man?
made millions of those. And he always claimed when he was in his later years, he always said that he was at least doing them for someone, and no one was doing it with a slit in it. And they were like,
Well, where I
Mr.
was going
Slepsky,
with that
how about a slit? And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
let me figure it out. And they figured it out, and then all of a sudden, he was in business.
Oh man, well, where I was getting to that, did he patent it? Like this
No,
idea
of
that you
course
have for the
not.
comic
No,
books.
of course
I
not.
was like, you yourself should take that comic book idea, draw it up, submit it
I
to
know.
the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
I know. That's another one of those things. I'm like, well, yeah. But then the limited use of that, though, the amount of money would cost. Yeah. But it's an idea. Yeah, I wish my grandpa had patented that, but this show would be sponsored by big cellophane, had that been the case. Joe and Joe podcast brought to you by Big Cellophane.
Big Cellophane.
Well, Greg, I love this project. I think it's really great. I'm really glad you're doing volume 2. I'm really glad you're doing volume 3. I do want those interlocking covers, so that is my challenge to you. Now, do you think you'll cover all of Cobra in 3, or do you see maybe there's a 4?
I don't know. I'm not looking that far back. I mean, it's going to entail all the Cobra rank and file. Of course, it's going to entail Destro's Iron Grenadiers, the Dreadnoks. It's going to entail
outsider opinion.
Yeah.
One volume,
One
because
volume.
Cobra,
I
the
think so.
majority of Cobra
Yeah,
are the majority of Cobra are like vipers, eels. Types,
Yeah,
types
that's what
of
I was going to
people.
say.
They're not super character based, so I think you're going to cover a lot of ground just with the rank and file dudes.
Yeah.
I think you could knock it all out in one Cobra volume. I really do, and I have a nice three volume set.
Yeah, I think so too. Because the Vipers could be partial pages too. They won't be full dedicated piece, and there's not a lot of. I mean, there probably is a lot of visuals, but that's a lot to go through.
Well, what I did love that even when I was a kid, that once the Viper came out, you then started, you were like, oh well, I thought they already had a troop. Oh, that's cool, they got Vipers, and then you get the Televiper. You're like, oh, it's a subset. So that's really sitting there for you to talk about. Like all the subsets, or like you had the eels, and then what was it? They mutated some of the eels.
The Hydro Vipers.
The Hydro Vipers,
yeah.
So like that kind of stuff. That's just organizationally built in already. So
those are type of the things I want to pursue and investigate in terms of like the structure. Like what is the career path, if you will, of a Cobra Trooper?
Well, half of them, every other file card said these guys are the worst of the worst. So you're like, yeah, Vipers are cool, but then like the range Vipers, they're the worst.
Right.
And eels are cool, but
snow serpents.
Eels are cool. Snow serpents, worst of the worst. Hydro Vipers, worst of the worst. Like it's. Although they have great. Hey, listen, maybe that's why they can afford great retirement plans and all these vacation plans, is because they go through. People die so fast. It's not like they're sitting there sucking on lifetime pensions.
Like you're showing up at the Cobra recruiting office and like, what do I need to do to be a Crimson Guardsman?
Completely. Completely. Just put me in a Fred series in a nice quiet town. I swear to God, I'll totally show up when you call me in 5 years. I promise you. I get a wife and some. Oh yes, yeah. She's going to look exactly. Wait, you're telling me she's going to look exactly like this picture? Perfect. Yeah, I don't even have to. Sure, perfect, great. Sign me up. Yeah, totally.
We'll have to change your name though.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I'm cool. Yeah, my grandpa was Fred. I'm cool. I'm married to Tony. Like what are we doing? Plus new city, new town. I'll be a new guy. I'm Fred. Yeah.
We'll have to relocate you to this Springfield.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, every Springfield's the same. Really, how wildly different are all the Springfields? And I mean that in real world. How wildly different is every city that's named Springfield? It can't be that wildly different. So set me up. Yeah. I think I just changed my mind. I want to become a Fred. Greg, Agustin, you're the best. Thank you so much for this. Listeners, you got to go to Kickstarter, search for Action Report Command Files. You will see it. Ends on June 30th?
June 30th, yeah. I think end of the June, yeah.
Great. If you're at Joe Fest, stop by and say hello. Tell them Joe and Joe sent you, and then Greg, don't hold that against them. Will you also be at Dallas Fort Worth, the DFW show?
No, Josh Agustin will be doing that solo, but he'll have all the same After Action Report library goodies
Awesome.
at that show as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Awesome, amazing, and say hi and have a wonderful Joe Fest. And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.